Let me see if I can mute myself really quickly so I can get. Okay. And we're on. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Millennial Life Institute. Today, we're on with Hope Elizabeth Pittman with our MyTribe session. She's going to talk to us about expanders and containers and two types of people you should have with you in life and in business. Many times, people, you want to start something great or you have a great vision, but I think one of the first mistakes we make is who we attempt to bring with us. And I've made that mistake. I understand why people sometimes get it wrong. You naturally want to bring people with you um, who you've known, who have been good to you or for you at other places in your life. Or, like I never forget my friend was PR for a rapper, and his like somebody pretty high up on his team was like his friend from childhood. And I'm like, that man does not know what he's doing. They're like, why would you put him there? But now having my own business, I understand you want people around who you know, who you trust, but they might not always be the best people for you. But then, I really like sports documentaries. I do not watch sports, but I do watch sports documentaries often. And I love LeBron James team, like Maverick Carter, who is it, Rich? I forgot the other one, and they're just phenomenal. But I will say this, they were young kids who didn't know much initially, Hope, but not only did he have hope in them, he was willing to train them and put in work to make sure they could get where they needed to be, because he believed in them and he understood that they didn't, let me fix my hair. He understood that they didn't have the skill, but they had the heart and the loyalty and compassion, all the other stuff that they needed. So we're excited right now to have Hope with us. So Hope Elizabeth Pittman, you're on.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. And I want to thank you. I like to call you Dr. Bree Bree. I think it's cute. But I want to say thank you for allowing me to be a part of your movement. I really, really appreciate it. And I'm excited to be here this morning. So I got your girl. I got a green light. Jump in.
You're
Okay.
on. I'm gonna be working live, and I'll be talking to people. So I'll probably turn my camera off, and you'll be the only one on from the majority of the time.
Okay, well, I'm going to take my beads off so they don't bangle every time I move. But okay, so we're going to jump in. As she talked on my topic today, I'm going to be talking about my tribe, the two types of people that you need in life and in business. Now, this is something that I've learned. I've been in business for about maybe 9 years now. I've had a company called the Hope Project, and it's been an interesting journey. I've learned a lot, lost a lot, recovered a lot, lost a lot again. But moreover, I learned just a lot about myself, the type of people that I need around me, and the type of people that I need for business. So, but before I get started, I want to share that some of the things I'm going to talk about today came from a book that I actually read maybe about 3 or 4 years ago. It's by a world-renowned businesswoman. She's actually currently on the Shark Tank. I believe it's Barbara Corcoran. I'm not really sure if I'm pronouncing her last name correctly, but this is where some of today's points, not all, really, there's only 2 points today that I'm going to touch on. It came from this book, and the book is entitled Use What You've Got. And it talks about 10 lessons that my mom taught me about business. And so I hold this book very close to me because it gives me a lot of simplistic angles on how to approach some of the hardest business tactics. So Barbara Corcoran is the author of this book. And like I said, there's 2 points today that I'm going to touch on that she used. And I just want to make sure that I give credit to her for all of the amazing things that she has done in business, real estate, law. She's just a phenomenal woman. So Google her when you get a chance. So again, my topic today is my tribe, the two types of people that you need in life and business. Now, we all know that our world that we live in 2019 is saturated. And I'm going to say, even in some ways, it's overly saturated with I'm an island all to myself. I can do things by myself. We have people who are on the self-initiated self-help quest. We have people who are, because of Instagram or Snapchat or Twitter or Facebook, any social media outlet, they have even turned into being self-made gurus in their own lane. We have people who focus and commit their lives to being self-sustained and maintained and this, that, or the other. Our world as we know it is really big on this whole me, myself, and I movement. But then on the flip side, we have another side of the world that it's my tribe, my circle, my family. We have people who are on the whole no new friends kick. This is who I came with, this is who I'm going to end with. But then on the flip side, you have people say, well, everybody you started with is not, going to be who you end up with. So there's just some measure of conflict, if you will. I think it's healthy conflict nonetheless, but it's some measure of conflict within society, because if you're not screaming no new friends, then you have somebody screaming they're living their best life and they refuse to go back and forth with anybody because they're just living their best life. They're doing what's best for them. While all of that is wonderful and it's great, it can be confusing, and confusion can make you stagnant because you're not clear and you're not able to focus in on what actually works for you, because society is just inundated with so many perspectives, and we take those things in and we internalize them without realizing, and we start to actually develop our lives and make choices in personal affairs and make choices in business based upon what's going on around us, as opposed to what's going on inside of us, what needs to be communicated, what needs to be released to the world, and then just what you need to just have a healthy life. So also, let me just share this. With that conflict, you have a lot of people who like to stay in that space of gray or stay in that space of ambiguity, because when you're ambiguous with kind of what you're doing in business and in life, you don't have to make the hard decisions as far as I'm going to hire this person, I'm going to fire this person, or this person is going to cross over into the new year with me, or this person is not going to cross over to the new year with me. Most people enjoy leaving things kind of open-ended and gray so that the other person can just kind of fall off and just whatever. You look up and you're like, hey, where did Billy Bob go? Well, Billy Bob just eventually just fell off. But you as the owner of a business, or you as the CEO of your own life, sometimes it's easier to just let people kind of make their own path, as opposed to you being able to make a clear, concrete, and definitive decision on what's going to work and what's not going to work. And I choose to believe that that is because many people push and press their way from the wind of change. A lot of people don't like change. A lot of people don't like anything that's different. And they don't like it because most of us, we want to preserve our measure of comfort. We want to preserve what's familiar. We want to preserve, what's easy and what's smooth. But what's easy and smooth may not always get you to the next step in life. And it definitely isn't going to get you to the next step in business. So I'm just sharing some things that I've learned over my time of doing life and business. Okay. So I'm going to share a concept with you that I like to share with a lot of my clients. And I found this concept to be very true. And I learned it for myself first. That concept is this: whatever your hangups are in your personal life, they are going to be directly it's going to be a mirrored image in your professional life. Okay. So if in your personal life, you're indecisive, then that means in your professional life, you're going to be indecisive as well. Now, that isn't necessarily a bad thing. We're not here today to talk about necessarily like decision making or whatever. But what I'm going to say is, if that's something that you struggle with in your personal life, then it's going to play out in your professional life, which again, we are who we are. But if that be the case, then it's important that you have people around you that know that you're indecisive in your personal affairs. And then it's important that you have people around you in business that know that you can be indecisive also, not for the sake of covering you, but for the sake of providing you with the information and the resources and the tools that you need to help guide you, or to gently push you, and sometimes just, nudge you into actually making a decision. Because again, one indecisive person with another indecisive person, we're not going to get anywhere. Like, we're going nowhere extremely fast because neither one of us wants to make the decision. So again, I just wanted to share that theory as we get close into this conversation. And that theory is, whatever your hangups are in your personal affairs, it's going to be a direct reflection in your business dealings. So again, let's make it a positive one. Let's say in your personal affairs, you're a people person and you love connecting with people, and you're a great communicator and you just naturally attract people. They're gravitated to you. That is a wonderful trait to have personally. And that means that that's a great trait to have professionally in your business dynamic. But the downside to that is going to be that sometimes people can take advantage of that. Sometimes people will take advantage of the fact that you're just a natural people person. You love people, you care for people. But if you don't have someone in your personal life to kind of, help you monitor your openness and your big heart, you kind of start to feel like you're being abused. I don't want to say used, because there's nothing wrong with you using me if I know that you're using me. The problem comes in where you abuse my big heart, and just the personality that I have. Now, you translate that into business, then that means you're going to get people who are going to continuously ask for favors. You'll have this joke that I saw on Facebook the other day with these revolving invoices where you send work and you do things for people and they never really pay their balance. And it's sourced back to you as a person because you're so giving and you're so loving and you're so caring, which is a great trait to have. But when you have that trait and you're screaming no new friends at the same time and you go into business, it's going to hinder your profit, your return of investment, because you don't want anybody new in your space to tell you, hey, that's great. I'm glad that you love people, but we probably need to put someone in the middle there for like a check and balance to make sure that you can stay the nice guy or you can stay the nice girl and you can love everybody and you can help people, you can connect and you can network, but you probably don't want to be the one that's going to do these contracts and actually, secure the finances that we need for this, contract or whatever, because you love people too much. So sometimes that may mean that you'll have a hard time with saying, hey, pay me, you owe me, because you love people, and you would literally do it for free. So, it's very, very, very important that in life and in business, we are cognizant of who we are as a person, but we are also cognizant of what we're not as a person as well. Because again, whatever your issues are in your personal life is going to be a direct reflection in your professional affairs. Okay. So now I'm going to go further. Today, I'm not here to tell you that what you are or what you do or what you've done is wrong. I'm not here to tell you that it's right. I'm not here to do any of that. I simply just want to offer you another perspective. I just want to share my lens of how I see things and just offer you another angle. Again, I'm not saying that you're right, wrong, or indifferent. Just giving you another perspective, another way of seeing things. And in the event that what I share with you today resonates with you, then by all means, I want to empower you to use it. But again, I'm not here to say that you're right or you're wrong, just here to share another perspective with you. Okay. So again, let's go back to society. We talked before about how, we have the self-help. I'm on an island by myself, me, myself, and I don't need anyone but myself. Or then you have the people who scream that they're living their best life. They're not going to go back and forth with anybody. They're just going to do what they want to do and live in the lane all on their own. Great. Here's what I find interesting. Society does give us mixed messages on what's the best way to do pretty much anything. But with that, society tells us that we need to have people that are like us in order to build healthy relationships. You hear the phrase, well, we get along so well because we're of like mind. Or, well, I decided to go into business with them because they have the same ethic that I have. Or, well, we just became instant friends because we just clicked and it just, it was just mystical and magical and it was just really great, which that's fine. And I'm not here to argue or to negate any of that. You do what you want, but I just find it interesting that society can share so many different perspectives to how we do what we do. And so my question today is pretty much, how do we know which one is the right one? Because on one hand, like I said, society says that you need people that think like you and live like you and do like you in order to build healthy relationships. But then society will also suggest that opposites attract, right? So I just kind of trying to figure out, for my 9 years of doing what it is that I do with people, I've really tried to hone in on, do I need to have like minds or do I need to attract opposites? Which one really works? How do I know if this is actually the best thing for me? And here's the answer. We don't. Society simply suggests to you. The truth of the matter is only you know what works best for you. Because again, society, they can be, it's a lot of gray. It's a lot of ambiguity. One day, like I said, it's like minds, like resources, like thoughts. I chose you because you're like me. But then the next day it's opposites attract. I need different. I need something other than this. I need something other than, the norm, because to have someone just like you would suggest is more of the same. So we want to get some difference in to create some measure of disruption so that we can have some change and really, drive numbers and, or I want someone different in my personal affairs because I want to, expose myself and I want to travel and I want to do whatever. But it's like, well, which one is it going to be? Are you going to attract the opposites, or are you going to say no new friends and I'm going to end this with those that I started with because we all think the same? We like the same things. We eat the same foods. We go to the same places. We talk the same. Which one is it? And to be honest with you, what I've learned is that there is no right or wrong answer as it relates to you as an individual. The only answer that I found is do what works best for you. And I know that that's very broad and it's kind of vague, but you have to do what's best for you. So we're creating our tribe. Now, how do you identify your tribe? What are the two types of people that I need to look for in my tribe? Like, how do I even know that they fit to go into my tribe? Well, one thing we know for sure, we know that having all of the same is boring. But we also know that having opposites as a part of your tribe can be exciting. So trying to find a happy medium of both is what I want to submit to you today. But the question is, with my tribe, what are the two kinds of people that I actually need to look for as I'm building my tribe? Well, you want different, but you want the same. Not a problem. I'm going to make it simple because I don't want to seem like I'm talking in rhymes and riddles. To make it simple, here are the two types of people that you want to look for in life and in business. Two kinds. The first kind of person that you want is someone that can contain you, containers. Now, when I say containers, I'm not talking about someone who's going to put a lid on top of you to cap you off at a certain peak. I'm saying containers as you need people that can hold the weight of what comes with you. So someone who can contain you, we're now talking about someone with a good measure of capacity. Okay. I know a lot of times we have probably heard either in our local church assemblies, or you may have heard maybe on a television show or something or whatever, where people will use this analogy about love and relationships. And they'll talk about how, there may be someone with the ability to have 16 ounces worth of love to give, which is your typical water bottle size. And I happen to have one here. This isn't a prop. I just happen to have it because I like drinking water. So this is 16 ounces of water here. So you may have someone that their capacity is 16 ounces, but your capacity may be 32 ounces. Okay, so that means I don't have two water bottles, but if I did, that means that they have one and you have two. So you would have two to their one. I'm going to suggest that that may not be someone who was able to contain you as a person. And that's also someone who definitely isn't able to contain you as a professional, because it's just simple math. 1 16-ounce versus 2 16 ounces, which is 32 ounces, somebody's going to end up short. Now, the 32 ounce could definitely pour into the 16 ounce, but it's going to be a whole nother half of them that 16 ounce person is never going to be able to receive. And vice versa. That 16 ounce person, who is facing the 32 ounce person, the 16 ounce could pour all of themselves into the 32 ounce, but the 32 ounce is going to look like, okay, that's all you got. And it's not a bad thing, but they have the capacity, they have the container space to hold more. So you want to look for people in your personal affairs and look for people in your professional affairs that can contain, withhold, support, undergird, if you will, your capacity. And in like manner, you be able to accommodate their capacity as well. Okay, so that's the first type of person that we need. We need someone that can actually contain the wealth of what it is that you have to offer, whether it's wealth and just being like the best, amazing friend of all time, or whether it's wealth as it relates to business dynamics. You need someone that can contain all of what you have. And again, contain, I'm not saying someone who's going to put a top on you to cap you. I'm saying someone that can hold what you carry. That's the first person is container. The second person that you need is an expander. You need someone that can evolve what you have beyond the realm of how you currently have it. So again, let's go back to this water bottle, because this is about the only prop I have in here today. But let's go back to this water bottle, right? A container, a person who's a container could see your capacity for 16 ounces, right? But a person who's an expander can hone in and they can see that this bottle is actually 16.9, which means when you get this water bottle, the water bottle is never filled to the top. There's always room, a little bit of room for air, or I would say there's always a little bit of room for potential. There's space. There's some space for more to get inside of the container because it's never really filled to the top. So if I were to be an expander and I came along and I saw this water bottle that was unopened and the water bottle had about this much space, but I wanted to get more water in there, I would take you out of your comfortable water bottle and I would pour you into a larger container, because now that means the essence of who you are is still preserved, but I'm going to put you in a larger container, because putting you in a larger container now means that there's more room for you to be able to receive. Okay. So I'm going to say that one more time because I don't want to lose anybody. That an expander sees the contents of what you have inside, but they also see the little bit of space that's there. They see that extra room that you have. It may not be this much, but they see that there's about this much room that's there. That means more can get inside, but your container is going to overflow. So your expander is going to come and put you into another container that's a little larger so that we can get more inside of you. So the two types of people that you need in your tribe, in life and business, you need containers and you need expanders. Containers are people who can hold you, undergird you, support you, can maintain what's been established. They're consistent, they're loyal, they're wonderful people to have. Those are the people who are going to be sane, right? And then you need expanders. Those are the people who are going to push you and challenge you and nudge you to evolve, to try to get more in you, because they see that all of your potential has not been maxed out, which is a great thing. Because when you have your potential that's maxed out, you've reached your limit. But when you have potential that hasn't been fully tapped into or pulled out of, then that means that more can get in you and more can get to you, but you aren't in the environment or you aren't in the capacity space to be able to receive that. Okay, so I think I have. Okay, yeah. So that's that. Now I'm going to go to my next part of this conversation, and I'm hoping that this makes sense for you. But I'm going to go to my next part of the conversation. And that next part is, okay, so we now know the two types of people that we need in life and business. We need containers and we need expanders. That's great. But my question is, okay, so I've got the containers and I've got the expanders. How do I place them? How do I know when it's time to let the container hold and undergird and support me, versus how do I know when it's time to let the expander do what they do and involve me and push me and challenge me to go after more? How do I know the difference between the two? Or how do I know how to actually place them and turn them loose? Well, this is what I have for that. It's simple. Let them show you. Let them show you their ability to be one or the other. Now, here's the thing. Just because you identified them as a container or you've identified them as an expander doesn't mean that that's the actual role that they want to play in your personal life. Now, in business, okay, yeah, you got your dynamics, your parameters, you've established that. But in your personal life, just because they have the ability to be a container or because they have the ability to be an expander for you doesn't mean that they're in agreement. Okay, so in order to allow them to be who they are, you simply have to let them show you. Let them prove to you that they're willing to expand and push and navigate and get you into a larger space, or let them prove and show to you that they're willing to undergird and support and hold you down. So how do I do it? Simply, you don't let them do it. Let them show you who they want to be in your life, because people can say a lot of things, but the proof is not only in the pudding, but the proof is in their behavior. So let them show you. That's the first way that you place them. Let them show, let them prove who they are and what they can actually do. Because if you place them as a container and they really evolve into an expander, you have just now limited the context of your relationship. And no one wants to do that. Nobody wants to have a relationship where I have the ability to give you more and be more, but you're holding me hostage because you won't allow me to be more and you won't allow me to give more. In like manner, no one wants to have a relationship in business or in your personal affairs where you are pulling for more. You want the person to be more, but remember the capacity difference. We're talking 16 ounce versus 32 ounce. They want to be the 32, but the reality is they only have 16. So don't make them feel less than because they only have 16. Let them be the 16 to you. It's okay. But again, don't place them on your own will. Allow them to show you what they are or, are not able to be for you. Keep going or no?
Yep. No.
Okay, great. Okay. So let them place it for that. Now I have a quick little story, make it very short. In my previous ministry, when I started out there, I did a lot of things for my senior pastor at that church. And one of the things that I enjoyed doing was we were able, I was given the space to be able to identify volunteers and see them for their raw potential, but then also kind of push and navigate them to what I really saw. So there was a young lady, I'm going to call her Mary. That's not her name, but we're going to say today is Mary. Mary was on the dance ministry when I first identified Mary. She, had some measure of creativity. She was on the praise dance ministry. She did pretty good with praise dance, whatever. But what I noticed about Mary, whenever I would, be at the church, if I was in the office and I may go through the sanctuary, I noticed Mary was like super organized. Okay. Now, if you know people who are creative, most creatives, we are sometimes could be an organized chaos, or this. It's organized chaos. It doesn't mean that we're clutter or we're hoarders or we're just kind of all over the place. It's organized to us because we're free flowing, but to the average person walking in, it's just like, this is a big mess. So for her to be a creative to some degree, and she's a dancer, I noticed how organized she was. I noticed how, she had her, when she would come for rehearsal, she would have her, they would dress out sometimes of what they were going to wear that Sunday. So she would have her bags labeled, like, this is my white robe. That was typically for like ceremonies or whatever. And then if it was something like anniversary, she kind of had it labeled. And then she had all her different shoes that they would wear. They were kind of labeled and organized. And she had it on this little really little bag. And the bag had compartments and all this jazz. And I'm thinking to myself, the average dancer that I've seen would have had like a duffel bag or like a really big tote bag or book bag, and it just would have all been thrown inside. She was super organized. So to make the story short, I asked her one day, would she be interested in helping with sales and merchandise? And she was kind of like, well, I dance. I mean, why would you suggest sales and merchandise? And I said, well, I've noticed how organized you are, how intentional you are with labeling, all your different paraphernalia, whatever that you use for your dance. And I was just wondering, would you be interested in helping out the sales, the CD and DVD ministry? So she did it. And her first go around, she was a little nervous because she was kind of like, I went from dance ministry to this, I don't get to twirl and I don't get to do all of that stuff. But at the core, it was her organizational skill that I was after. Because again, it's not about your talent alone. It's about your under the surface ability. Anybody can be talented, but not everyone can be naturally organized. You're either organized or you're not, right? You either have it or you don't. And for her to be talented and to be organized, I was more interested in the core of the person that's organized than I was interested in the outward experience of the dance. Because if you're organized with that, then you're organized with everything else in your life. I want to access the stuff that you're organized with. So we got her. She started working with the city ministry. She did it for 2-3 weeks. And, she so one day she came to me and she said, is it okay if I maybe like kind of create a system, of how I can kind of do this? And in my mind, I'm like, bingo, Mr. Ringo, because now she's able to communicate her organizational skill, which meant for me, whether you're dancing, whether you're with children's ministry, whether you're with the city ministry, whether you're with culinary arts, whether you're with finance, whatever role we give you, it doesn't matter as long as you're able to execute your organizational strength. So for her, her containing ability was organization. But because I'm naturally an expander, I'm really good at pulling out of people the essence of them more than their presence of them. Her containing ability with my expanding ability, I was able to create, well, we were able to create a wonderful engine that ran smooth, because now things were, they went in, what is it? I thought to say ABC. They were alphabetized. Yeah. They were color coordinated. So we knew all reds were Sunday, greens were Wednesdays. They went in order by date and chronological. And she had a catalog and just kind of all of this jazz. And it was really amazing to see how her ability to contain was kind of stifled by just being a dancer. But when we took her out of, you know, the executing of the dance, talent alone, and we placed her in the open field and said, now go contain, meaning undergird, support, hold down, she flourished. But if I didn't know that within myself that I'm a natural expander, I would have never even pulled her out of that, because I would have thought she was happy with dancing. But because my eye as an expander honed into the minor details, I saw that there was more. Okay, so I'm gonna keep going, I don't wanna get stuck there. But simply put, the way that you properly place people is you allow them to show you who they are. And people don't show you who they are when you're watching, they show you who they are when you aren't watching. Because let's take Mary. Mary was in dance practice. She saw me walk through the sanctuary. Like any other time, I would walk through the sanctuary, no different. But what she did not know is that I noticed the real her. I noticed how organized she is. And I noticed it because I wasn't watching. I just happened to be walking through. So that allowed me to see who she really was as a person. And I mean, to go on to just make it a happy ending story. Of course, we made a lot of money and sales boosted and all that great stuff is great. She still was a dancer, you know, I mean, she still danced or whatever, but the freedom that she now had, get this, the value that she now felt increased, because now she wasn't just dancer number 12 on the praise team of 20 dancers. Now she was the person who came in and organized and restructured the entire sales and media sales and media ministry, because that was something that we were lacking. But she was the person who came in and gave us what we were missing. So that brought her an increased measure of value, which takes me to my last segment. How do you empower people to be who you are? 3 things, 3 words. First word, well, it's 2 words, but it's 3 bullet points. First bullet point, mutual exchange. That's the first one. Second bullet point is words, affirmation, reaffirming and affirming them. And then the last one is value. Okay. Now, of course, for each bullet point, I have a breakdown. How do you empower them to be who they are? Simple, mutual exchange. Be what you are to them, and they will be what they are to you. Let me say it again. That's my context of mutual exchange. Mutual exchange is be what you are to them, and they will be what they are to you. That works in business and in life. So if I'm a loyal person in my personal affairs, and you're a loyal person in your personal affairs, my loyalty is going to make your loyalty feel safe and trusted, and it's going to feel wanted. And so you're going to be able to display your loyalty because you know that I'm loyal. You know, I'm not going to take advantage of your loyalty. And because I know that you're loyal, I'm not going to take advantage of your loyalty. So how do you get them or empower them to be whatever? Simply be who you are to them, and they'll be who are to you. Now, on the flip side, here's the negative, and I have to give you just a dash of negative. If they're nothing to you, be nothing to them. Now, that doesn't mean trash or belittle them. I just mean that if they have not identified you, then don't break your neck to identify them. Let the potential remain potential. Because as we all know, you can't build life off of potential, and you can't build a business off of potential. The only way potential can develop into something that you can materialize is that person being willing to make it work. Sharing with someone the other day, it's never it's never an issue of your capacity alone. It's always an issue of your willingness. So if you're willing to show me or be who you really are as a person in business and in life, then I'm going to be willing to show you who I really am in business and life as well. So that's how you do it. Mutual exchange. Be what you are to them, and they will be what they are to you. Second point was your words. How do you empower people to be who they are? Words, affirmation, reaffirming them, showering them with words. I know this is a scripture. I'm not the preacher, Dr. Bree is, but it talks about, when words are released, and the word seed, it goes to the ground, that you have stony, thorny, and ground that's fertile, that's ready to receive the word. That actually is not just a spiritual principle, but that actually works in life. That there are times where you can release words on people and you can feel that they're taking your words in. But then there are times where you can release words onto people and it's like, it's hard as bricks. You can feel that they're not taking your, you could say, ladies, because I don't know who all is here, but women, we know that there are things that we can say to the opposite gender that could make that joker get up, chest is out, out here, and they are ready to run through troops and leap over walls, right? But then there are some that you can pour those same words on, and they're pure and they're sincere and they're genuine and they're flowery words of life, words of wisdom, words of support, and all that wonderful stuff. And you can pour those same words and it's like smack. When you realize that will let you say, okay, yeah, let me back up. Let me stop. Save yourself some trouble. Now, I'm not just making it about the guys. I'm just using it for the sake of relatability, but it works for women too, in life and in business. How do you empower people to be who they are? First thing, you let them be who they are to you, you be who are to them. Second thing is your words. When you speak to them, if you feel that those words are hitting the hard surface, stop. Don't waste your breath. But when you feel those words are penetrating through and you start to see some of what you're speaking to them flourish and you start to see that potential, then you keep pouring. You keep affirming, you keep validating, you keep pouring onto them, you keep speaking to them. Now, don't get corny like Mr. Rogers and just like every day you got words of affirmation. But when the time calls for it, pour. Because if you pour on them and you start to see that little bud come up through that dry soil, as the more they grow, they're going to turn around and they're going to start pouring on you. Now, their measure of pouring may be offering shade because they're going to grow into a really big tree, and I don't mean a funny shade. I mean shade like, safety and security and all of that jazz. But that's the second one, is words. The last and final one is value. And I define value as your willingness to connect with the person and not the role. You have to connect with people. That's another way that you can empower people in your life and in your personal affairs. Bruh, you cannot be my friend and we don't spend time. We have to connect, because in that connection,
that was willingness to connect to the person and not what?
Willingness to connect to the person and not the title. You have to. You have to care about the person first. You have to care about the person more than the title. Because if you don't, they don't feel valued. They don't feel honored. They don't feel those flowery words that you're pouring. It's going to keep hitting concrete because they feel that they are not valued. They feel that they're just filling a seat. I've seen people have friendships that, they have raved and ranted about having this amazing friend. And I'm sitting on the outside and I'm just like, yeah, nah. It's a space filler. And you can tell because the value that you see, the value is not there. Same thing goes in business. If you have someone in management or supervisory role, and then they have those people who are on their team who are kind of helping them reach these quarterly goals, they treat people like cattle. You're just a number on the list. But people feel the lack of value. They feel that you don't care. If I have a cold, and I say, hey, I'm really sick, and I'm not telling stories. I really am under the weather, because I value you. And if I can afford to do it, stay home. I want you to get rest. I want you to get better, because your coming in is going to possibly affect everybody else or whatever the case may be. But I want you to get better. I want you to be better, because you as a person, you matter to me as a person. Before your output, I'm concerned about you as a person. So I'm going to input that value to you. I'm going to give you the space to be a human being before I give you the space to fulfill a title or a role. So I'm going to do a quick recap. So how do you empower people to be who they are? First thing is mutual exchange. The second one are your words of affirmation. And then the last one is value. Value the person for a person first. Because if I had nothing to give you, if I had no talent, if I had no skill, if I had no degree, if I had no business, if I had nothing, if I was just a person who had no money in the world, would I still be all that you say that I am to you? And if the answer for that is yes, congratulations. You have just found someone that you need to put in your tribe. Congratulations. But if the answer to that is no, then you may have a space filler, and be kind enough to release that person from your space so that they can go get their tribe. And then you be kind enough to release that person in your space from your space so that you can receive the person that needs to sit in that seat. And that's in personal and in your professional affairs, because it really is just that serious. So I hope that something that I shared so far, has been helpful. And again, I'm not here today to say that what you do or how you do it is right or wrong. I'm not here to say this is the way I do it and you do it this way. I just wanted to offer you another perspective, another angle of how we do life together. Because the statement that I started with in the very beginning, that whatever our hangups are in our personal affairs are going to be our hangups in our professional affairs. But whatever our strengths are and wherever we soar in our personal affair, we're going to soar and be strong in our professional affairs. So the truth of the matter is, my tribe, how do I identify them? The two types of people, containers and expanders, and all that is great and wonderful, but it really does all start with you. Not you as an exclusive individual, I'm on an island by myself, but it starts with you because you have to know what works best for you. Because remember, I told you, society says, no new friends. I'm living my best life. I'm locked and loaded. I'm good. But then society also tells you that opposites attract. So society will have you confused. But you have to know within your core and within yourself what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And then you will effectively and efficiently be able to recognize your tribe, to identify your expanders, to identify your containers. Because at the end of it all, talent can be taught. A skill can be taught, but you can't teach a person to care. That's something that you either have it or you don't. So I hope today that some of what I shared with you will kind of give you some tools to be able to better identify people that care versus people who are just gifted and talented.
True. Okay, so I have one question. Thank you so much, Hope. We appreciate
You're welcome.
Give you a round of applause, even digitally and stuff. So I have one question here, and it says, when you realize someone it should not be a part of your tribe, how do you release them?
Well, me being the kind of person that I am, I enjoy hard conversation.
Sorry.
I know that's really weird. I know it is. But maybe that's my business side of me.
It is.
So maybe it's just like bottom line, okay, what's this return on the investment? Because the reality is the exchange is not mutual. The reality is the value is not there. The reality is the words are hitting stony, and I would even say thorny ground at sometimes. I mean, the facts are there, it's evident. So let's just kind of have that conversation. Now, I think the wisdom to it is knowing the other person.
Okay.
You don't want to go in swinging your hammer.
Like, I've had so many assistants, child. I started off by getting people I knew, then people I didn't know as well. It's a lot easier, I think, when you don't know the person at all. Like my virtual assistants, I'm like, this ain't working. You know what I mean? It's easy for me to fire a virtual assistant who I don't know. But if it's a virtual assistant I know, or if it's someone who I want to give a chance because I like them or appreciate them, it gets more difficult. And yeah, I don't have a good job when it comes to, I don't do a good job when it comes to employing people, like human resources and finding the right people. My heart gets in the way. So when it's time to like release them, is it like, thank you very much for your service and call it a day?
No, for me, initially I would start out with trying to reframing it. Let's kind of have conversations about expectation. So my phrase may go something kind of like, how do you feel about how things are going? If they say, oh, I think it's great and it's wonderful, then it's just like, oh God. But if they say, well, I don't really feel like, things are really clicking. I'm not really sure. It just kind of feels like something's missing. Okay. They've just now opened the door for you guys to just have some really good conversation. That conversation isn't intended to just, okay, well, we're done. Bye-bye. Turn in your key. It doesn't mean that. But I think that door gives you the opportunity to kind of reframe, kind of adjust expectations, and then that gives you the opportunity to kind of put some time frame on there. So like you put some metrics on there to see, okay, well, let's say for example, I feel like, no, my input isn't valued at team meetings or whatever, or from a friendship dynamic, I feel like, you choose everybody over me. Really? Yeah, like I feel like I'm always the last one to know. I don't feel like I'm included. I'm not your first choice, whatever. Like I feel like you prefer everyone over me. that gives you the window to talk about that. Give an example. What is it that I do that makes you feel that way? What is it, that they see you as? Because sometimes it's not that you're doing it. Sometimes it's the way the person sees you.
Perception.
Your perception. So it gives the opportunity for conversation. So no, I'm not saying out the gate that somebody does something that you know that you need to release. You just, okay, boom, I'm out. God bless. Like, no, give the opportunity, because if you care about people, give the space for conversation, healthy, honest dialogue. Now, if that person is like kind of closed and they don't have the conversation, then I would just say pull back and let it fall off. It'll take care of it. It'll kill itself.
I've done that, and that's a waste of resources. You know what I mean? Like, I have just like pulled back, like I'm just not gonna ask them for much, and I'm like, girl, this your money.
Huh? Like, you say, girl, get your money.
This is your money that you're wasting. You know what I mean? When you pull back in business, because I've been the person, I'm just not gonna ask them for that much, so I don't have to be disappointed. And I'm like, that's not how this works.
Well, no, I mean, in business, it is going to be a different standard. In business, especially if you're paying, like you're signing a check, you have the right to be able to say, hey, sis, hey, bro, this is not working, let's sit down and talk about this. So you could do something like go over job descriptions, again, discuss expectations. They may have one interpretation of what you're looking for, and you may have another expectation of what you're looking for. Ask yourself honestly, am I looking for them to be just like me? Do you want 5 of you around? Because sometimes we say something isn't working, and sometimes it's not that it's not working, they're just not working it like you.
Yeah.
But if the person doesn't know that your expectation is to have 5 mini-me's running around, then they're thinking they're doing the best of their ability. But if you really just sincerely want like carbon copies, then that's on you more than it is on them. But either way it goes, you'll never know if you don't have the conversation. So how do you, let someone go who's not working? You got to talk. You have to have the conversation. Now, the degree and how far the conversation goes is going to be based on the other individual. But if it's in business, and you're putting in financial investments, you're paying biweekly or monthly retainers, and it's just not working, then have to take a deep breath. Just have to kind of reassess these expectations, look at these job descriptions, see if it's working, and then you have this conversation. And now they're like, okay, well, I know better what you're looking for. Put it on paper. We're gonna set some charts of some checkpoints into place. I say, okay, well, great. Well, now that we all have a better understanding, so next week let's use a checklist, so we can just kind of see. And at the end of the week, we're just gonna check in. I'm a supervisor, I'm hovering over you, but we're just gonna check in next Friday just to check in and see how you feel and see how I'm feeling. And after we do that, my checklist, your checklist, if it ain't adding up, then that gives you perfect cause. Say, okay, look, we had a conversation. We had a 2-hour dialogue about it. You shared your heart. I shared mine. We both drafted up some things. We agreed that this is what we're going to do moving forward. It's been a full 7 days. I'm looking at what you got. You're looking at what I've got. It's just not really adding up. Where do we go from here? Mm-hmm. Now on a, friendship dynamic, same dynamic, but you're not going to be as rigid, But on the friendship dynamic, I've just learned falling back sometimes is the best way. If in the event that person is not strong enough to be able to even have that conversation, have some grace, have some love and some care, and just kind of fall back, they'll notice the difference. Yeah. And sometimes it's hard to fall back. It really is. If you're loving, I'm a very loving person. I love deep, and I have loyalty issues my own self. So I feel like I failed. Sometimes I'll wrestle with feeling like I failed a relationship because I didn't do whatever. But you just have to fall back, let time take its course. You'll find out. Stop calling for 3 days and see if they reach out to you.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see.
I hope that helps.
Don't tell me. What do you do when you don't have containers or expanders around you? So can you make them? Can you create them? Can you coach them into it?
If the person, remember I shared being willing versus having the capacity?
Oh, yeah.
So if a person is willing to, go for it. Only time will tell whether or not they actually have the capacity. But if a person is willing to take on more, and they're willing to learn and be stretched, by all means, go for it, But if a person
build them a little bit to a certain extent.
Huh?
So you can build or train containers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But you want to be careful because you're training a skill, which skills can be trained, but you got to look at the core of the person first. Yeah. So I think a few minutes ago I talked about you can train someone a talent or a skill, but you can't train someone to care. So if you're in the people business, you're in like a service oriented business, if you can't train someone to care. So if a person at their core, at their heart, they're just a selfish person and they're just kind of like not really into people, you wouldn't want to train them a skill within your business dynamic. But if a person at their core, just really cares and they have good character and they have good values or whatever, but they may not know how to do a particular thing, but they got a good core, please build them, stretch them, pull them little by little, inch by inch, mile by mile, build them because they're willing. But you can't take somebody with a bad heart and teach them a skill. You're gonna create a monster doing that.
Yeah.
So those are my thoughts. It's just kind of what I think.
Okay. I think that's all the questions we have. If you
Okay.
have any more questions and we don't see them before we log off, you can feel free to email us and we will get those back to you. I believe our next Millennial Life Institute is the last Saturday in the month of July. And it's going to be on branding. So we're going to do branding next, last Saturday in July. In August, we're going to do a panel of business experts and see if we can answer some questions for those who are looking to start a business or whatever. Start a business, start a ministry. Even if they want to do another conference, we maybe conference out. But no, I think there's actually space for conferences. I think they could look differently. I think we can have different expectations for them. So what we're going to try to do in August is help you to get your party popping and, get what you need for the fall. Many people have things to kick off in the fall. I got a couple projects that I'll release over the summer that I'll kick off in the fall that I'm very nervous about. I've had these projects probably a year now. That's what I do. I sit on my stuff for a year. Probably not the best thing to do. But I'm so afraid of, what does it mean? Like nobody come to my party. And so I hold stuff a lot longer than I actually should. So we'll see. If you think you should be teaching a Millennial Life Institute session, go ahead, holler at your girl at REV_BRI at irunbmc.com, or you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can send a pigeon in the sky. You can send a helicopter with a little writing on it, whatever. You can find me and let me know. I think I should be teaching a Millennial Life Institute session. If you know someone who you think should teach a Millennial Life Institute session, I'll let you do the hard work and make the cold call and then let me know if they're interested. But for Miss Hope Elizabeth Pittman, we want to say thank you so much. We appreciate you spending time with us today and sharing your insights. We're extremely grateful that you would help us to kind of figure life out. That's the whole point of MLI, is to adult together and figure out some of the stuff that everyone seems to think millennials should know that we haven't learned along the way. And so what we're going to do is make sure we got each other, and that what we don't know, we'll share our knowledge to make sure we are better. We are grateful for you. We are praying for your life and for your ministry. We believe that God has amazing things in store for you, and we can't wait to see you evolve into all that God has for you. For those who are starting businesses, who have a business you want to take to another level, next month is going to be branding. The month after that, we're going to do a panel about business, and we'll probably have Hope back if she'll be so gracious, and we'll talk about what it means to build a business or take your business to another level. I see so many gifted people on social media, and I want you to be able to do what you never expected to do. Hey, we all got to eat out here. And if eating means doing something on your own terms, especially when it comes to people who are having a more difficult times getting a job, whether you're a returning citizen or you're a single parent or you have a disability or other ability issue that doesn't allow you to do what some other people do to go get a job, whatever it is, everybody got to eat. And so look at me out here trying to end world poverty. I'm just like, look at me trying to decrease the unemployment rate since somebody else won't do it. So God bless you. Talk to you later. Thank you so much for joining, and Hope, we're so grateful for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Absolutely. We appreciate you. We're logging off, and Hope, I'll call you right back.
Okay.